Green Bay getting 3.5 at Detroit.
Okay, we did not talk about this ahead of time.
So
go ahead.
My rationale is multi-layered. One is, I said this earlier, I don't know if you guys talked about it on the show this morning, this should be one of the best Thursday night games ever.
Yep.
Because not only is it two excellent teams with real stakes, both on full rest. Usually Thursday night games, teams are more banged up than usual or get more banged up. With that said, the previous Thursday, Detroit got all banged up. And I think the cluster of injuries along the defensive line, I also think Green Bay understands kind of a rubber meets the road moment. They are 0-3 against the three teams ahead of them in the conference. Minnesota, Philly, and Detroit. This is, they'll get one more shot against Minnesota and obviously this shot against Detroit. If they win tonight, Danny, they are definitively alive for the division. I don't think it's likely, but if they win, Detroit and Minnesota are at 2 losses. They'll be at 3, and they would have split with Detroit. They have Minnesota again later in the year. I think that Detroit has looked shakier the last few weeks. I still think they're an excellent team, but it's hard to win 10 in a row. It's hard to win 11 in a row in this league. I certainly like getting 3 and the hook. So we're on the same page of this game. You go ahead on your rationale on it.
So, first of all, when they played in week 9, the game was a lot closer than the score indicated. Green Bay had over 400 yards of offense. Detroit had less than 300.
This is the other thing people don't know about Danny.
You don't like my yards per play
Danny
thing.
doesn't love things about the NFL. Danny doesn't trust your record or
I watch the games.
Even within a game, who won or lost.
I
it's
watch
about
games.
Who had more yards per play.
I'm seeing the NFL very clearly. I watched the games, and that was a game. It was a game in the rain. Weird things happened. Jordan Love threw a terrible pick 6, and you'd say, well, Jordan Love throws interceptions. Fine. That was a gift-wrapped pick 6 to Detroit. Could not have made it any easier for him. Then Wicks, wide open in the end zone, 9-yard pass, puts it right on his hands. He drops it. 4th and 1, they then go for it instead of kicking a field goal because they had been down by multiple scores. End up coming out of that possession with 0 points. I thought that Green Bay absolutely maybe not could have won the game, but should have played that game a lot closer than they did.
If people don't remember the game, just to be clear, I'm glad Danny didn't say they could have won. They were down 24-3 with a minute left in the third. But I actually understand what you're... And the pick 6 before the half, the game was 7-3 with a minute left in the first half.
Correct.
Detroit field goal, then pick 6 at 17-3 off to the races.
It escalated. And also, out of that game, the Packers have leaned in more to Josh Jacobs. He's second in the NFL in touches since that game, only behind Saquon Barkley. He's got 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games since then. Jordan Love has no turnovers in the last 2 games. And you mentioned Detroit's injuries. They now have, I believe it's 13 defensive players on IR.
Yeah.
That might be a little too grimy even for me. Go ahead.
The Saints without Taysom Hill can't move the football. What are you laughing about?
I mean, you were like the biggest anti-Taysom Hill guy in the world, and now he's like a key
no.
integral piece. All right, go ahead.
Much like many of my seemingly controversial opinions, upon a level deeper inspection, you'll realize, not only was that not controversial, it was 100% correct. Taysom Hill, as a gadget guy, is awesome. Taysom Hill, when Sean Payton was like,
made him a quarterback.
He's our next quarterback, and we're going to pay him $18 million a year, was an absurdity. But for the Saints this year weren't using him like that. They were using him as a running back, wide receiver, H-back, tight end, his destiny. And by the way, his career might be over. He's 35. He's older than people think.
What quarterback are you comfortable betting on here in this game?
I don't even know who's playing for the Giants. I assume it's Drew Lock.
That's kind of what I thought.
But I don't care.
Oh, you don't care.
I'm getting 4.5 points. Derek Carr has played 16 games in his career as a road favorite. What do you think his record against the spread is?
Oh, it's
16 games.
3-13.
1-14-1.
Wow.
The only win was indoors.
That's a bad trend.
Indoors in a dome. This game's obviously in New York in December.
In the cold, yep.
Derek Carr's 36% against the spread as a favorite for his career. That's the worst of any quarterback the last 20 years. And the Giants are not. The Giants have. I know you don't like the trend stuff. I like some of it. I hate the trends. No, but you care about like when it's. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You really don't like trends when it's like this team on this day.
Oh yeah, well that's complete nonsense.
Or even like this team versus this team for the last 20 years.
Also nonsense. Yeah.
But when it's specific to a player. Derek Carr, I think that is somewhat instructive.
I agree. You know, I'm interested in like the Dolphins and the cold type of trends. Yes. I'm interested in Josh Allen against the Dolphins type of trends, that sort of thing. Yeah, sure.
The Giants not only have lost their last 7 games, they have not covered their last 7. The reason I'm saying that when I'm betting the Giants is I feel like they are at some point like they're going to get extra points, half point every week.
Like a market overcorrection.
Right, a market overcorrection.
Sure.
So I just think the Giants, honest to God, when I was doing my own little in my head guess the lines on this.
Love it.
I thought this would be the Giants -1.
Oh, wow.
Because I think the Saints in this spot with no Taysom outdoors in New York are like... The Saints should not be a 4.5 point road favorite over anybody.
No, that's totally fair.
I'm laying 3.5 points with Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans.
You're going back to the well with Tennessee, right? You had them last week.
I had them last week. I was getting 6.
Undeterred.
They are at home against a Mac Jones-led Jags team.
This is an anti-Mac Jones agenda for you.
1,000%.
Okay, he looked okay last week.
He looked. So so I have a controversial theory. Andy Reid off a bye.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah, of course. That's a trend I put weight into, of course.
Great coach, more time. The worse you are, the better you are, we all agree. The more time you have to prepare, the better. The worse you are,
the less time you have to prepare, the better.
Right. So Mac Jones didn't even think he was playing.
He was as surprised as anybody.
Gets thrown in the game.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, he's okay. All week, Mac Jones is like, this is my last chance to prove I can be a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Game plan tailored for me.
Right.
I'm playing the Titans. He's going to be horrible. I think the Rams are going to beat the Bills. I certainly like them getting 4.5. This is such a massive spot for the Rams. Remember, the last time they played Buffalo, they were the defending Super Bowl champions. It was week 1, and Buffalo annihilated them in that game to kind of announce themselves that season. That was the Bills, the first game after the 13 seconds game.
Yeah.
And it was the Rams defense is better than people think it is. That Jared Verse has been awesome. That was one of my best preseason picks, was Jared Verse for Defensive Player of the Year. This feels to me like a 27-24 game in either direction.
I did not lay the points in this spot. I think Josh Allen is the second best player in football, and I picked him for MVP before the year. Did you have Versus Defensive Rookie of the Year or Defensive Player of the Year?
Rookie. Did I say player?
You said Player of the Year.
Yeah. No. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Okay. I thought
he's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, no, of course. I was curious because there weren't that many high
year.
defensive draft picks for rookie, so he was one of the favorites. But yeah, he does look like he's got star potential for the Rams.
You guys see what he did there, trying to just kind of throw a little water on my Defensive Rookie of the Year pick?
It wasn't.
You don't have to be a high draft pick to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
But wasn't he the second? I think he was the second. You're like one of my best picks. He was like the second favorite.
I think he was probably like plus 600. I think that's like a good bet. I think I think plus 600.
It was the second favorite. Someone has to win.
Go ahead.
Yeah, 6-1 is a good winning bet. Congratulations on all your success. I think the Rams are good. I think Buffalo is potentially great. And I don't buy at all trap game or letdown spot because I do think they're playing for the 1 seed. And If they lose, Pittsburgh could jump them for the 2 seed. I do think they would want to avoid Baltimore, who blew them out earlier in the season.
It has been a long time since I bet the Chiefs. They are laying 3.5.
Yeah.
Against the guy Danny Parkins believes is the 3rd best player in the league.
That's right. It was a rough game last week, though, for that opinion, but go ahead.
It's been a rough season for that opinion. It's been a rough season for the Justin Herberts. He's got a great offensive line, a great coach. He's averaging 1 touchdown and 200 yards a game.
They're focused on the running game. They're establishing a culture more than stats. They're winning more than last year. He's the only player in the NFL through 11 weeks to have a passer rating over 90 in every game. Go ahead.
So what's their yards per play look like with the Chargers?
They're focusing on grimy runs. I'm worried that Harbaugh is going to just be too much. Him and Greg Roman are going to take the ball out of Herbert's hands and just focus on wins and not stats for my guy. So my guy's going to win a little bit, then he'll get back to the stats.
So
and
I want
to be the guy who inducts him into Canton.
Justin Herbert this year is 18th in the NFL in pass attempts,
right,
and 18th in passing yards.
That's on his coach.
No. What I'm saying is, He has exactly as many yards as you would think he would have with that many pass attempts. That doesn't scream to me otherworldly talent. But here's the Herbert.
Do you watch games with your eyes closed? What are you talking? The guy is an otherworldly physical talent. He just is.
So here's the question I have for you and for other people. How deep into your NFL career does your NFL career outweigh your combine profile?
This isn't a combine thing. If every quarterback in the NFL was a free agent and there was a draft tomorrow of the GMs, what pick in the draft do you think Justin Herbert is?
Probably 7th or 8th.
Yeah. Okay. I think he's probably 4th or 5th.
No. You always
I would take him 3rd.
Oh,
I would take him 3rd, but I think that the league would take him 4th or 5th.
And I'm just curious. The argument for Justin Herbert over Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are what now?
Oh, well, I don't think the Lamar Jackson one's that difficult to make.
Okay, well, tell me.
I don't think that Lamar Jackson, so much of what he does and what makes him special is the mobility and the athleticism, which will be a declining, depreciating skill set over the course of his career. And so I believe that even though we are witnessing yet again another MVP caliber season, even though he will not win it, from Lamar Jackson, and he helps the running game in a tremendous way, and Lamar Jackson is amazing, I do think that, like, if I was going to bet on a guy's 30s, and now we see quarterbacks play into their late 30s or 40s with a high degree of regularity, if I was going to bet on who is going to have the better 30s, Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert, I would bet heavily on Justin Herbert.
Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to get more from the show, and make sure to click the bell to get notified every time new content drops. Check out full episodes of What's Right wherever you get your podcasts, or just click the link in the description below.